Wow. What a Game 5 victory this was for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Yeah. Clarky, how are you doing tonight?
I'm ecstatic, baby. Let's go, Maple Leafs.
That was a massive victory and a massive comeback victory. 3 goals on 7 shots Maple Leafs in the third period of play, making Andrei Vasilevsky look rather beatable towards the end of the game. And something that I've noticed throughout this series over the last few games is the momentum swings we've been seeing. I remember back pair of games. So that would have been game 3. Yeah, game 3. The Toronto Maple Leafs ended up winning that game, but they in the third period, if you remember, the Tampa Bay Lightning had an onslaught of offense,
Yeah.
plentiful opportunities, and then game 4, Tampa Bay dominated. The Toronto Maple Leafs in this game took over late in the third period after the carryover of momentum. The momentum carried over for Tampa Bay. Now let's see if the momentum carries over for Toronto into game 6.
Yeah, we shall see. I mean, I'd say for at least half that game, Toronto did not look like in the same league as Tampa Bay. Somehow came back, squeaked it out. Great to see the Leafs won at home tonight. Amazing celebrations by the crowd, and it was definitely an emotional roller coaster tonight. Glad to see a lot of people already shooting comments, and let's get a lot of comments in here tonight. If you haven't already, smash that like button, smash it, smash it for that win. Let's go. Screaming here in Australia. Holy crap. Coming from Australia, I didn't know there was even any hockey fans in Australia, let alone Leaf fans, but that's amazing news. I mean, kudos to you. I don't know what time it is there, but that's amazing. Go Leafs, go.
SJTC. I remember he was here in the streams last season, and I remember telling a story about how when I was in Australia, in Melbourne, I actually saw someone wearing the Leafs jersey. So, yeah, Leafs Nation is worldwide, and I'm sure that Maple Leafs fans around the world will be celebrating with caution tonight, knowing that the job isn't completely finished, because this is a great win for the Toronto Maple Leafs, something to build on, but they still have a lot of work to do against the defending back-to-back Stanley Cup champions.
Yeah, I mean, Chris Patterson says it here too. I mean, hate to be the bearer of bad news, but for anyone that watched that game, Tampa was all over the Leafs in the first period, and you could even say parts of the second. Up until the middle of the second period, Leafs were projected to have about 15 shots the total game. So, they had a really slow start offensively, especially defensively too, even goaltending at the start of the game. But they pulled it together, and there's a lot of bright spots, but we can't forget that it was a closer game than what it ended up being. I guess it was only 1 goal difference, but still, it was a crazy game overall. And we're lucky. We're a bit lucky tonight, I'd say, as Leaf fans and Leafs Nation. A bit lucky, but also the stars aligned at the right moment, and the firepower came out from the stars, especially from Johnny Tavares. I was really happy to see him get going tonight. Nylander too. Soup came back into the game. So there's a lot of bright spots, but, it was not pretty the whole game. It was not pretty.
It really wasn't pretty this whole game, and there definitely was some luck involved in this game. Sure, there was a lot of heart from the Toronto Maple Leafs in this comeback victory, staying with it, continuing to put effort into the comeback. But anytime you're being outshot 35-25, I mean, that's a pretty wide margin of 10 shots. So clearly there was some luck involved in this victory for the Toronto Maple Leafs. They only had 7 shots, as I mentioned, in the third period, scoring 3 goals there. That doesn't happen very often against Andrei Vasilevsky, and they're really going to need to have a full 60-minute effort if they want to put the Tampa Bay Lightning away next game.
Big V wasn't looking too good. Big V was not looking too good. So, that was great news for the Toronto Maple Leafs because, Big V's been probably the best goalie in the NHL the past few seasons, and he's got the Stanley Cups to back him up. So, I mean, like a goal like Nylander's tonight, for instance, that went off the post, you'd expect Big V to get that, but, he just didn't get it tonight. So, Leafs got to take what they got, and they did take it. So, we're going to Tampa 3-2. Hello from Nova Scotia. Go Leafs, go. Nova Scotia, beautiful province. Beautiful provinces all across Canada. Canada's a beautiful nation. We're lucky to live in it. And if you live in any other part of the world, I'm sure it's beautiful too. But I love Canada.
Yeah, great country here in Canada, definitely. And wow, what a win! Let's get into tonight's 3 stars. Uh, Leading off, first star of the game. I don't think there's much secrecy behind it. The first star of the game is Jack Campbell, making 32 saves on 35 shots, and tough first period for him, but he stuck with it,
Yeah,
and
yeah. Ugly
he
start.
stood on his head in goal for the Toronto Maple Leafs, kept them in this game.
No doubt it was an ugly start for Campbell. I had flashbacks to past Leaf goaltending experiences where it was just epic, colossal collapses. And, Campbell pulled it together. And I'm sure for anyone that was watching intermission, when you saw Spezza talk to him, and Kelly Rudy pointed that out in the broadcast tonight, saying, when Spezza came over to him, gave him a little confidence. I think Campbell just needed to settle down, and that proved to be the case tonight. He settled down. He made some big saves in the second, kept Toronto in when Toronto was flat-footed, and even in the third period, Tampa, experienced team, they threw the kitchen sink at Toronto down the stretch, and Campbell made some big saves. So I would give it to him too. First star. Rocky start, but he recovered for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, I'd compare this to like, I'm gonna make a baseball analogy for a second. So it's like you go out there, throw on heaters on the mound, and they're just everything's not going your way. It's either ball or hit out of the park, and after that, you have to get it together, stay with it, keep hitting the strike zone. And tonight, Jack Campbell is hitting the strike zone, making some big saves in big time moments. Tampa Bay was all over the Toronto Maple Leafs in this game, especially late. That late push that they had, those were some nerve wracking moments. So, a real nail biter at the end there. And Jack Campbell, he remained composed and he did his job.
Well, we could talk about the end, but I think, another important point for Campbell tonight was that 5-on-3 Tampa went on early. Tampa could have easily gone up 3-4-0, and the game would have been completely over. But Campbell made some nice saves. Kucherov also missed a big one-timer on that side. But Campbell made some nice saves. Penalty kill pulled through, mostly because of Campbell. And I think that's really what sparked the Leafs, not really through that period, but later in the game, to get back into it. And it really gave the team a shot. So, it's not too often that Toronto fans, especially, are praising their goaltender. Campbell has gotten a lot of praise, but he's also gotten a lot of hate. So I think, just from that alone, got to give him that number 1 star tonight.
And the performance we saw from Jack Campbell here tonight reminded me a lot of what we saw when these two teams played in the regular season back in November. I was at that game on, I believe it was November 4th, and Jack Campbell made some great saves in that game. The Lightning led 1-0 all the way into the final minute of the game. John Tavares tied it, and then Nylander with the overtime winner there. So Jack Campbell, he, I mean, this looked familiar. Tonight's performance looked familiar to what we saw from him early in the season. And if we can see some more performances like that, the Toronto Maple Leafs should have some more success here.
Yeah, yeah. Who we got for second star here?
Second star, William Nylander. And this is a guy who's been
Nice.
criticized
Nice.
quite a lot of criticism for William Nylander. And we
Yeah.
saw that play in game 4 in Tampa Bay. Atrocious play. But what a bounce back performance from William Nylander out there tonight.
Yeah, a guy that really led the Leafs last year in the playoffs. I think for his standards, he's been relatively quiet in the series. But the stat line says it all: 1 goal, 2 assists. That goal he got was an amazing snipe. Assist, he was involved in a couple plays, and I think even, when he got out of the penalty box early on in the game, he had a nice breakaway, didn't score, but creating the opportunity. So I think, he was all over the ice, and I think played along with Tavares, played with a lot more energy. I don't know what was said before the game or internal motivation he had, but he really came out with an extra step tonight, and I think it proved well. And he's second star of the game for sure. You could make an argument for first. So congratulations to Nylander. We need him big throughout this playoffs. The Leafs are going to go anywhere.
Clarky, I wouldn't congratulate him yet. Series ain't over. You
For
know
the
that
for
better
the
than
for the
I.
game, for the game.
I
I'm
know,
not
I know.
saying
It's a good game, but in the end, it means nothing if the Toronto Maple Leafs don't win this round.
Well, I saw a comment in here that Toronto needs to close it out in Tampa, and I couldn't agree anymore because I don't think I'm going to watch Game 7.
I I agree that the next game. I mean, every game progressively gets more important throughout the series, but next game, that is a. It
But
seems like it feels like it's a do or die game for the Toronto Maple Leafs. You do not want to go into another Game 7 with all the history this team has.
let's see some comments. Do you think the Leafs can close it out in 7 if need be, or do you think Game 6 is a must-win too? Let's see some comments here. Also, smash that like button. Love to see smash that like button for the Leafs win. Jake, worked really hard. He's coming on. I just come on and rub my mouth. So, thank you, Jake, for having me on. We all appreciate you hosting these streams because it's always a good time for Leaf fans to come after a huge win.
Thank you, Clarky, and yeah, thank you to everyone watching. Please smash that like button if you haven't already. Hit the notification bell. You'll be notified every time new content's being released and every time I have one of these live streams.
So we got third star.
Third star. Let's go with John Tavares, Toronto, the captain stepping up in a big time moment. This is a guy another guy who's really been criticized heavily for his playoff performance here, but coming up big tonight.
Yeah, Johnny T. I mean, stat line 2 again, and that one assist he had to Riley, amazing play. I think he needed a big game. Captain, like you said, taking a lot of criticism lately. I think he proved tonight why he's making the big bucks. Let's just hope he can deliver in the next 2 games because I think we need him. He stepped up, produced. Can't say anything more than that. Good in the face-off circle too.
Yeah, what'd you say earlier? 75% in the face-off circle tonight, I believe you said.
75%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
dominant.
That's something that's always undervalued statistic. Great for possession, and when you possess the puck, good things tend to happen. So great performance from John Tavares tonight, and that's one that he really needed. Maybe that sparks something going forward in these playoffs for him. Maybe he has some more momentum now.
Yeah, we shall see. I mean, I think Tavares, he had a decent season, but I'd say parts of the season he went on huge slumps and he was really streaky at some point. So, if he can get on a bit of a streak now, that's really going to help the Toronto Maple Leafs because I'd say he's been slumping lately and I'd say he's been underperforming. But, tonight was a pleasant surprise and hopefully he can keep that up. We both had confidence in him before the game. We both put bets on him to score. So, kudos to us because we believed in Johnny T, our captain. But, let's hope he can keep it through because it was a great performance, but the Toronto Maple Leafs are going to need more of that from their captain.
Well, the reason I wanted to put that bet down is the Toronto Maple Leafs aren't going to win this series if John Tavares doesn't score a goal. John Tavares needed to at least score one. It wasn't pretty, but maybe that's exactly what he needs to get going. Sometimes weirdest goal goes in off your skate, if your backside goes in. Those are the things that get you the momentum. We saw him follow that up with a nice pass from Morgan Riley later in the game for the assist. So let's see if he can keep this up going into Game 6. And the Toronto Maple Leafs are really going to need their captain here.
I agree. We're going to need him down the stretch.
And Chris Patterson says JT is a great face-off guy, but been looking slow on the ice. And yeah, he's not the greatest skater of all time. I mean, obviously he's an NHL player. He's a good skater, but by NHL standards, he's not a speed guy.
He doesn't stand out as a guy flying over the ice, but that's not his style, right?
Exactly. He's someone that's going to stand in front of the net, generate traffic, win some faceoffs, and as we see him get older and older, that's going to be more his style. He's going to have to transition his game more to that style.
Yeah, I agree. I think that one of the things I'd say is like you mentioned is in front of the net front presence. I thought he had limited impact down low throughout a lot of parts of this series. I think Tampa Bay defense did a really good job clearing him out down low on the boards. He lost a lot of battles, and even tonight, a few turnovers. But I mean, you know, he got some space tonight on that 4-on-4, and he made some magic happen. That dish out to Riley, it was a beautiful play. I'd say one of the nicest plays, if not the nicest play of the game, in my opinion. Just the way he saw that out and his calmness, composure. So, I mean, he may be slow, but at the end of the day, he's still a really good player. He's got a lot of instinct to him, and he can play like a really good star in this league. So, great game overall, and he's still a great player. He's got to get it going more often.
Definitely, you'd like to see him be a little bit more consistent, especially when he's getting paid what he is and he has that C on his jersey. But big performance from tonight, and hopefully that's something he builds on.
Yeah,
Uh, let's read some comments about Jack Campbell. Campbell and Vasilevsky in almost identical goals against average. Jack at 3.53, Andre at 3.54. Who would have thought that would happen? And I mean, yeah, I guess that is. It's surprising in the sense that Andre Vasilevsky, best goaltender in the National Hockey League, in my opinion, and Jack Campbell, he's been like a fringe starter for the majority of his career. So
yeah,
yeah, it's surprising in that
very
sense.
two
But
different stories.
yeah, completely different. But these are also two high-scoring teams that generate a lot of offensive ability. So I'm wondering if the statistic is more based off the goals being scored. Obviously, it's goals against average, but I'm just saying like more based off the team than the goaltenders. And no disrespect to Jack Campbell because he played great tonight.
Yeah, and I mean, I think to build off your point, not that either team's power play has been magnificent, but there's been a lot of power plays in the series, for instance. So that's put goalies at a disadvantage. We've seen some open ice too. I think Toronto had at least 3 or 4 breakaways, or 2 or 3 breakaways tonight. Tampa Bay had a couple 2-on-1s. So I think in terms of goaltending, yeah, you can look at the stats: 353, 354. Not great, but I mean, it's been high flying, high intensity, back and forth, blow for blow, playoff hockey. So, I think both goalies, Vasilevsky maybe not playing to his standard, Jack maybe not in his last game, but this game for sure. Both goalies, they've faced a lot of adversity. So, stat line's one thing, but I think it's just been one of those types of series where there's going to be goals.
Yeah, there's going to be it's like the exact opposite of what we saw in the Montreal Toronto series last season. There's just an abundance of goals. They're coming constantly. And outside of tonight, they've all been decisive victories too. Like this is the only game this series that's been decided by one goal. That's surprising to me.
Yeah, I mean, it's been kind of blowouts, at least with the empty netter. Like it's been somewhat convincing wins, except for that Leaf game 3. That was a really tight game down the stretch. But yeah, I mean, it was a close game down the stretch tonight. And again, that goes back to goaltending and the goalies keeping their teams in it. But, who knows what's going to happen going forward. But it was close. It could have gone to overtime easily tonight, easily.
Yeah, and you say who knows what's going to happen going forward. Let's stick with the topic of goalies because we know what we've seen in the past from Andre Vasilevsky after a playoff loss. You know where I'm going with this, Clarky. Since a since 2019, in games following a playoff loss, he's 16-0. The Toronto Maple Leafs are going to have to try to crack the code here. It's going to be easier said than done, especially in Amalie Arena, hostile arena. So the odds are stacked up against the Toronto Maple Leafs in Game 6, but you and I both feel this is a really important game for them to win.
Yeah, I mean, I think they got to win. I think they got to win Game 6. I don't know about anyone else here, but I just don't trust Toronto in a Game 7 situation. I just don't.
Nope.
And even like tonight, like the crowd was amazing. Again, the crowd, they drew that one penalty when the ref was hesitating and then called it. It's kind of a reactionary call. A lot of great cheering. Seeing the square outside of the stadium too. Fans were just filling the streets. It was great to see. Great to see Leaf Nation coming together. But I mean, it doesn't really matter. It does matter, but it doesn't because Toronto's track record in Game 7 situations, high pressure situations, is brutal. And you're talking about going up against a team that's won 2 back-to-back Stanley Cups, so they are literally the definition of performing under pressure. So I don't know what to think about that, and I would rather see just Toronto finish the job in Tampa Bay on Thursday night, so we don't have to go through that as Leaf fans, because I don't know if it's going to turn out well.
Yeah, the Tampa Bay Lightning obviously won back-to-back Stanley Cups, so obviously they haven't lost a Game 7 in the last 2 years, and if you're the Toronto Maple Leafs, this has been an issue for quite some time. Uh, Game 6, you really want to try to close it out in that arena and get momentum going into round 2, hopefully. But uh, more on tonight, just a great performance from Jack Campbell, really stealing the show for the Toronto Maple Leafs, 32 saves on 35 shots. And then, were you surprised? I guess my question, I haven't asked you this, but were you surprised by what you saw from the Leafs tonight?
Which part of the game? I mean, yeah, I could say all parts of the game. I think I was surprised at the start how flat-footed they came out. Going into the start of the second didn't look any different. Then they slowly started to get back into the game. I think after that first goal, it was a really ugly goal off the skate and in. So it was nothing pretty. But I think after that, that's when Toronto started to really come back into the game. And I got surprised a little bit by their turnaround. They started to dominate Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay kind of buckled. And I was a bit surprised by, just the openness of the game down the stretch. And Toronto took advantage of some situations. So it was a crazy game overall. But yeah, I'd say the whole game was a roller coaster emotionally too, because then you had, Toronto goes up 3-2, 3-3, 4-3, like it was crazy. And even right down to the wire, Tampa Bay was putting on a lot of pressure. And that's the other thing that I don't like about Game 7 situation in close games is I think Tampa Bay really knows how to try and push it. They got guys that they put on even as that extra attacker like Corey Perry, which for whatever reason he has a number on Toronto Maple Leafs. So yeah, it was crazy overall, but definitely surprising.
Well, I mean, Corey Perry is just one of those guys. He's a playoff performer, and he always has been. He's won a, he's won with the Anaheim Ducks, and he's been doing this a long time. He's got a lot of experience in the playoffs. Think about all those times the Anaheim Ducks went deep into the playoffs last year with the Montreal Canadiens, now with Tampa Bay. He's got a lot of playoff experience. He knows what it takes to win. So that's exactly why they put him on in those closing minutes. And I agree. This game was surprising in a lot of ways. The beginning of the game, you weren't expecting the Toronto Maple Leafs to come out and look like that. That
No,
was,
it was bad.
yeah. And then I think it's also safe to say that you weren't expecting the Toronto Maple Leafs to come back after looking like that in the first period. It kind of just felt
No,
like the game was a write-off after the first period, and it was only a 2-goal game. So, great job from the Toronto Maple Leafs, really showing a lot of resilience out there tonight, and that's something that not resilience, but I feel as if that comeback effort, that's something that we haven't really seen from this team in the playoffs in years past.
agreed. And I think you haven't seen a team where facing adversity like the Toronto Maple Leafs. Usually it's reverse where they're up 3-1 in the series. Game 5 is usually they lose to go 3-2, but usually you see Toronto buckles a bit, and they didn't tonight. So I think that's the biggest surprise is that Campbell didn't buckle. Their defense, their spirit, everything about the team, their offense. Keefe even, I don't think he panicked. I think he was upset at certain points, especially in that first period, but I think the team kept composure throughout both intermissions and proved to really pay off by keeping composed and not going crazy and not falling under pressure and doing something that would have cost them the game and maybe the series if they lost.
So you mentioned Sheldon Keefe there, and I'm gonna get to a comment that talks about Sheldon Keefe, I guess, in a way relates to Sheldon Keefe. So I would put Frank Rusty Nail says I would put Simmons and Clifford in for Game 6. Throw Tampa off their game. Perry is going to agitate in Game 6, facing elimination. And I don't know about both of them, but I'm definitely putting at least one of these guys in the lineup because I'm expecting it to be a physical matchup, and as Sheldon Keefe said at the beginning of the series, maybe borderline violent.
Yeah, I mean, I get your guys' points, um, but I would just push back a bit and say, like, do you want Toronto to play like that? Do you want Toronto to kind of play a little bit off of their typical game and put in a couple goons to, make a few hits? Because I saw Austin Matthews tonight. He's a big boy. He laid 7 hits, and he kind of hurt. What's that
Sergachev.
guy's name?
Sergachev.
Sergachev. He hurt Sergachev, who's 6'4". So I mean, I get the point, but Clifford and Simmons, they're only going to play like 5-6 minutes of the game. So I don't know how much of an impact it has putting them in. I don't know if I would. I don't think I would. I think I'd keep the lines how they are. I mean, I also don't think Keefe should start putting Bunting on the fourth line and stuff. I think he's got to keep Bunting with the top line. I did like how he started the game with Nylander, but you got to put Nylander and Tavares together. I just don't think he should mess the lines up too much. So I'd say no, but I can see what you guys are saying.
Well, I think there's potential that they're going to need one of these two guys anyways, considering Colin Blackwell played 4 minutes 48 seconds after
Right.
getting
He
hit
got hit
high,
in the
so
face. I forgot about that.
probably gonna need one of these guys in anyways. So
Right.
potentially, obviously, hopefully
Yeah.
not, but hopefully no injuries sustain there. But doesn't look promising considering he left the game. Um, but
Probably
there's definitely
Simmons then.
potential.
Probably Simmons then. I don't think Clifford's gonna play. I really don't.
I just I don't know if that's a good idea to go back there after he had that 49 seconds of ice time and then got tossed.
Yeah, and I mean, I know if he could take it back, he probably would have. But I mean, like, you just don't want. And even Simmons, that last game he played, he took 2 penalties. You just don't want to be put in those disadvantage on a potential elimination game. So that's why I would probably lean towards Blackwell if he is healthy. But you're right. I forgot about that. He might not be healthy, so we'll just have to wait and see. But at least they got a couple options off the bench there.
Yeah, definitely, and that's something that's nice to have that flexibility and a bunch of depth, be able to move pieces in and out. And we've also seen that on the blue line this season for the Toronto Maple Leafs. John Martin says Leafs need to be absolutely ready for Thursday. No doubt about it. The Tampa Bay Lightning, they're already preparing. I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
they'll be ready. They're gonna come out firing on all cylinders, and the Toronto Maple Leafs need to just they need to do more.
Well, I mean, it helps when they've won 2 Stanley Cups in a row, so their fans are spoiled. They know how to win. So I'm sure those fans are going to be confident in their team. They've seen their team pull through in high pressure situations before. So I'm sure that stadium's going to be crazy. It's going to be bumping. And I think Toronto's just got to keep their composure at all times throughout the game and really just go in with, like John Martin is saying, absolute readiness, because that's what's going to be required if they're going to squeak out a win there in Tampa, which I'm hoping so much for because I don't want it to come back to Toronto.
No, no, please don't. No more game sevens for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Like, just too much scar tissue there for Leafs Nation. Um, yeah, they definitely need to be ready for the Tampa Bay Lightning because that's a bunch of professionals on the other side there. Uh, that team's back-to-back Stanley Cup champs, so there's a reason why. And then John Martin follows it up by saying Vasilevsky's human and beatable. Sure, he is. The Toronto Maple Leafs have proved that, but again, following a playoff loss, in his last 16 games, he has no losses. So the Toronto Maple Leafs need to really rewrite that script as well.
John, don't push our luck too much. I mean, you're right in terms of letting 4 goals in the night, but he's a really good goalie. So, you know, doesn't mean just because he's been having an okay series. I wouldn't say bad, okay. He can't shut out the Leafs because he may be able to.
Absolutely. And 4 goals on 21 shots. I'd expect a little bit more motivation behind Andrei Vasilevsky in Game 6, and that's something that you don't want if you're the Toronto Maple Leafs. Not only the motivation of having a tough game in Game 5, but also the motivation of having their season on the line.
Yeah, no. No chance.
Matt Crash says, is Tampa the hardest matchup for the Leafs in the East? It's up there. There's a lot of good teams in the East, but it's definitely up there. What do
I
you think?
mean, yeah, that's a good point because the top of the bracket, there's still decent teams. Like Carolina are probably going to win. I don't know who's going to win those series, honestly. I'm not going to make predictions. I have predictions already. I don't know if I'll be right or wrong, but they're up there for sure because I think the one thing that's so underestimated, not on paper, not on the standings at the end of the year, is that Tampa knows how to win. And, they've won 2 Stanley Cups in a row. So until proven otherwise, they're the defending Stanley Cup champs. They're the last team to touch a Stanley Cup. So, Matt makes a good point that Tampa might be the hardest matchup just for that reason alone, and that they got some studs on their team. So you can make the argument there, but there's some other good teams in the East too, like Florida. Washington series is tight. Pittsburgh's looking pretty good too right now, even though their goaltending situation's messed up.
Yeah.
Carolina, again, they came back tonight, shut out Boston. So you can make the argument that some of those other matchups don't match up as well as against the Leafs.
Yeah, and the big debate, we weren't really debating this too much on this show, but there's a lot of chatter around the Toronto Maple Leafs going into the playoffs about what would be the ideal playoff matchup. And really, the way the playoff format works, you're not going to get an ideal matchup. It's either Boston, Florida, or Tampa Bay. So pick your poison. The Maple Leafs end up with Tampa Bay, and really you can spin it any way you want, but they're the defending back-to-back Stanley Cup champions. So I think that they're definitely among, and not, if not the toughest opponent that the Maple Leafs could have ended up playing against in the playoffs.
Yeah, I agree. It's a tough series. It's a tough series, and I mean, it was a tough game tonight. Leafs barely won. Let's call it what it is. They barely won this game, so it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, a win's a win, especially in the playoffs. But it's not going to be pretty if the Toronto Maple Leafs want to close it out in Game 6 on Thursday night. There.
Yeah, they need a more complete 60 minutes against Tampa Bay Lightning on Thursday night. They need to A, come out of the gate strong, and then B, close the game out strong. They were shaky at the start of the game, and at the end of the game, they got some lucky bounces throughout. Nice rebound off the pad of Andrei Vasilevsky, goes right to the stick of Austin Matthews, who, of course, puts it in the net for the game-winning goal. I mean, there's some luck involved in this Maple Leafs victory, scoring 3 goals in that last period on just 7 shots. So need a more complete performance if they're going to have any shot at winning Game 6, because Tampa Bay is going to come out firing with their season on the line. So, Clarky, do you have any predictions for Game 6?
Oh, I told you I texted you saying 6-3 Toronto tonight, so I was wrong on that. I'm gonna go.
And everyone else in the comment section, send it in as well.
Yeah, let's see some comment sections in here. Let's see some score predictions. I'm gonna have to go. I'm gonna have to go 4-2 Tampa Bay.
Yeah, And you know what, Clarky? I really hope I'm wrong when I say this, but I'm gonna say like 5-1 Tampa Bay. I think that Tampa Bay is really gonna have their best game of the series with their season on the line. Like the message in that locker room is push it to game 7 and worry about it then. The comments section a little bit more optimistic for the Maple Leafs. 5-4 overtime win for the Leafs and Leafs 6-4. So could see it, but really it could go any way. But I just feel the Tampa Bay Lightning are going to come out with vengeance on their mind.
I started the series saying, yeah, no, I agree. I started the series saying 4-3, yeah, 4-3 Leafs OT. Okay, interesting. I started the series saying Leafs in 7, so I'm going to stick to my guns there. But I agree with you. I just think, it's going to be a tough game for the Leafs to win in Tampa Bay. I think Tampa Bay just knows how to win. Game 6 is the first game going to overtime. 4-4 Leafs win it 5-4 OT. Interesting prediction. That would be a sweet victory. 3-1 Toronto Maple Leafs. Okay, Brian. So we got a lot of Leafs love in here. I mean, me and you both picked Tampa Bay, but I hope everyone else is wrong. Matt Crash says, I think inside we all know it's going to 7, and that's where my gut is telling me. I have to agree with Matt here. I can't believe it's going to be closed out in 6.
I really feel this could just be the scar tissue of following this team for as long as we have. Speaking, I mean, we've seen it countless times go game 7 and just I don't know. You don't want that obviously, but that's just where our mind's at because we've seen it so many times. We've become accustomed to it.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not like it's against a team that hasn't made it out the first round like Toronto. Like it's not like they're playing a team that has no championship pedigree. They're playing a team that has won huge games. They're playing a team that's 55 straight games where they haven't lost back to back in the playoffs. Vasilevsky 19-0 or whatever you said after a playoff loss. They're playing a team that knows how to bounce back, and they got a coach there that after the first game said anyone could have beat us tonight. Their coach is even not fazed by bad situations. So it's just one of those things where bringing that all together, combined with being in Tampa Bay, I find it hard to believe that Toronto's going to go down there composed and win. I hope I'm wrong, but it's just very hard for me to really believe in that.
Yeah, and I mentioned at the top of the show that there has been a pattern I noticed of carryover of momentum from the last game early in the game, and that's the Toronto Maple Leafs need to keep that pattern going because that would work out in their advantage, but they have to sustain it for a full game. I just know, that the Tampa Bay Lightning, like,
They're
you
not going to
can't,
go out without a fight.
no,
No way. They're
no,
not going to go out without a fight.
you can't expect that from that team.
They're yeah.
David Gerard comments says, if the Leafs can start with confidence, they could win it in 6, but they have to play smart. And absolutely, David. Great comment.
I agree. I mean, I'm not writing Leafs off game 6, and I don't think you are either. I think we're both just saying that given the combination of the scar tissue from years past, along with championship pedigree from Tampa Bay, along with a little bit of, just bad luck. Bad luck. I don't know if it's or bad luck or just bad mojo or just, overhype, whatever it is. It's hard to believe it's going to be 6. I hope it is 6. I really do because, series will be over.
Yeah, 100%. You don't want it to go to game 7. Andrew says, Jake, we don't want game 7. You told us that. And yeah, I have said that multiple times. Game 7 is not a good thing for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Historically, it hasn't been. And I don't foresee that changing against the Tampa Bay Lightning. Maybe in another series, but I don't see it happening against Tampa Bay. I don't know, though. I didn't see this comeback happening, so maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah. So we're taking Tampa Bay, but everyone else in the comments says they're playing Toronto to win. So we'll see. Hopefully they're right and we're wrong.
We'll see, right? We'll see. Bob's comment says we haven't played our best over 5 games. Can win this series. It feels like uh, we have to outwill them, and I
Yeah.
feel like, yeah, definitely. I think so. Think
Yeah,
so.
no, that's good comment there.
Thank you, David. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I appreciate that so much. Uh, I'll be back here for. Actually, I was thinking about. I want to do this post game show, Game 6, but like, I'm having a serious thought about going to Maple Leaf Square and doing some like interviews, asking some fans some questions. So
That'd be pretty cool.
yeah, I'll make an announcement over the next 48 hours of whether I'm going to do a show or not. But uh, I don't know. Stay tuned. Either way, there's
There's content
content.
coming.
Like I'll do a reaction video or something from Maple Leaf Square if I can get in there. Frank Rastinel says Bogosian seems energetic in the series. Last year with the Leafs in the playoffs, he didn't play with that passion and often making mistakes. And if I remember correctly, Zach Bogosian entered the playoffs last year after some injuries. And, um, I don't think it's the passion that was the problem. But he's on a successful Tampa Bay Lightning team that he's won a cup with. And he went back there just like he played in Tampa Bay, won a cup in the bubble, signed with the Toronto Maple Leafs, and then went back to Tampa Bay. So clearly, he's more comfortable in Tampa Bay.
Well, I mean, Frank Rustinell's maybe right, or maybe Bogosian just likes, plus 25-degree weather each day, Florida sun, Florida beach, you know, no rules down there. Maybe he just likes the lifestyle or something. I don't know. But yeah, he definitely looks more comfortable. And I think, Bogosian's been a little bit of a pest this series, like he has been in years past in other teams. So I don't know how much he was at on the Toronto Maple Leafs, and we seen him get into it with Tavares. I think Mikheyev, Bunting, him and Bunting have had a little bit of spats. So he's been pretty good too. Yeah, Tampa Bay's defense has been pretty solid. Not perfect like Toronto's. It's been errors on both teams, but yeah, it's a good point that he probably has played with a bit more energy, and he has definitely given more to Tampa Bay this year than he gave to Toronto last year for sure.
Yeah, and I wonder if that's just like what I was saying before. I feel as if he's just more comfortable there. I
Wait. Honestly, though, I don't know about that because he's only played 9 minutes tonight. I don't know how much of a role he is actually having on this team.
well, his role's not massive on the team, but he's comfortable in the situation there, and he makes some big plays and some big moments defensively.
Yeah, fair
And
enough.
uh, how many power plays do the Lightning have tonight? 5 or 6. So like that's a lot of time that Bogosian's not touching the
Yeah,
ice as
yeah,
well.
yeah, yeah. I guess they played Hedman 27 minutes. He's a star, though. He's a
Yeah,
star.
Victor Hedman, a fantastic defenseman,
Oh,
one of the top in the NHL. I think the crown of the best defenseman has been taken away from him this season, but he could definitely regain that in the future.
yeah. Speaking of defensemen, I was wondering. I don't know if anyone has any updates in the comments either. Labushkin's thumb. Any updates
Yeah,
on that? Because
yeah,
he looked like he took a shot. Where is it? Blanking out. Anyway, he looked like he took a shot right off his thumb there, big slap shot. So I'm not too sure how he's doing.
that's
Could
a
be
good
broken or I don't know. But
that's a
didn't look
good
too good.
point because that he's playing a pivotal role on that top line for the Toronto Maple Leafs, or top defensive unit beside Morgan Riley. So let me just see if I can find any tweets about Ilya Labushkin's injury.
Well, it's good that
Uh,
the Leafs do have a little bit of depth on defense. I don't think they'd play Sandin. Um, maybe, but I just think in a high pressure game, I don't know how that'd go. To be honest, but I'm not against them playing him. And I thought Liljegren. I don't know about everyone else, but I thought Lilgren had actually a few good games. He made some pivotal mistakes, I think, that last game he played, but
Yep.
even Hall didn't play too bad tonight. He didn't play too bad.
No, he when he's not noticeable, it's usually a good thing. Like
He
it,
was physical.
yeah, and he did what he needed to do. Uh, I just think that the Toronto Maple Leafs need to do a better job of clearing the front of their net. That's their biggest issue.
Yeah,
Uh,
definitely not like Tampa Bay. Like that second goal tonight, the guy was just I don't know who it was. It was number 17 on Tampa. I forget his name.
Killorn.
Killorn. He was just Killorn, big guy. He was just sitting in front of the net.
Yep.
No, Campbell couldn't see anything.
Yeah, just park it out front, and that's textbook hockey right there. Um, Cosmo says, "Great game. Proud of how they responded from last game and being down 2-0 early, and uh, certainly, it's something that I'd like to see the statistic of the viewership for this game of how much it went down at first intermission. And like honestly, like I feel as if there is a significant spike down after the first period because that was just a brutal performance in the first period from the Maple Leafs, and then it progressively got better. At the end, they make a miraculous comeback and end up victorious. So a great game, and there's definitely lots to be proud of in that locker room for the Toronto Maple Leafs. But be proud, but don't be satisfied.
I think that's a really good point. It wasn't an elimination game, so we can rave about it all we want. That celebration by Matthews at the end of the game, that was crazy. That windmill, that goal was amazing. Nylander's goal, it would have been a great game to go to. Oh my gosh, even in that square, it would have just been absolutely electric. If anyone was there, share your experience because it looked like a great time. But yeah, I mean, the series isn't over, so it's hard to really get too excited. But you also got to enjoy the moment because it's part of playoff hockey. Whether you win the series or not, there's little moments that are always fun to watch. So
Hmm.
it was great.
Yeah, that atmosphere looked amazing tonight again, and
Oh yeah,
it's big props to the fans for staying in the game after
yeah,
that first period because that really could have deflated the crowd. I'm sure it did. Actually, I was texting someone who was at the game, and they're like, "Yeah, it was pretty quiet." And then that's the loudest they've ever heard the arena. So that's all you need to know.
yeah. I think the thing about Toronto fans is that, and we experienced it tonight. We both picked for anyone that didn't catch it. We both picked Tampa Bay to win Game 6 because I think Toronto fans the expectations are pretty low in high pressure situations. So you're in a playoff game, Game 5. In my eyes, it was a must win. They're down 2-0, 3-4-0 goes down. That crowd, I'm sure there's people leaving. I'm sure the crowd's not making much noise the rest of the game. So it was nice to see that they stuck in it and they believed because the team needs it. The team needs it.
Yeah, 100%. And Bob uh, mentions a negative play earlier from Morgan Riley. Had a giveaway earlier in the game in the second period. Pretty bad pinch. I remember this, and he had to hustle back, hightail it back to try to get back for the breakaway. Uh, I don't. There wasn't a goal scored on that play, but just allowing another opportunity, forcing his goalie to make another big save. But yes, he made up for it later in the game with the goal. So that's
Yeah,
massive, massive response.
that's funny. Bob. It's funny because that's how sports works, right? Don't really remember certain moments, and you remember others depending on the outcome of the game. And I'm sure if the Leafs lost that game, probably would have been talking about that along with some other big mistakes. But the Leafs won, so you're right. He made up for it. But yeah, I mean, can't go down to Tampa Bay and make mistakes like that. If there's giveaways, turnovers, sloppiness on defensive or offensive end early on in Tampa Bay, I'm sure that game's gonna be over pretty quick. So yeah, Toronto's got to come down, play a really clean game, and really outwill Tampa Bay Lightning, or else it's going to be like Game 4.
Definitely. The Toronto Maple Leafs, their goal has to be put this thing to bed. Put this series to bed. Put all the narratives to bed. Put all the critics. Silence them all. Put everything, all the eliminations in the first round, put that all behind you and just get one win. Focus on winning one hockey game. That's what they're going to have to do Thursday night at 7:30 p.m. at Amalie Arena in Tampa Bay. Game 6, that's going to be massive, and that place is going to be rocking. I can't wait for it. Not sure what I'm going to be doing here, whether it's a post-game show, uh, some street interviews and a reaction. I'm not sure what's going to happen, but there will be content for that Game 6, of course. So stay tuned for that. Uh, Thank you, everyone, for tuning in tonight. Clarky, what are your closing words for Maple Leafs Media?
No, it was a crazy game. A lot of emotions, I'm sure, for everyone in here. And the job's not done yet. Let's all just patiently wait for Game 6 and hope the Toronto Maple Leafs can close it out, because I don't think any of us want to see a Game 7, really. But at the end of the day, really appreciate you having me on. Really appreciate everyone in the comments. It's always great to come here. Great place for all fans to come back, and we try to get to as many comments as we can, because it's a show not just about us talking, but about getting comments and in other perspectives, because it's all about just a fan show, fan opinions, and not mainstream media. So that's how we fly around here. Everyone tries to have a say in the show, so I appreciate everyone coming in, tuning in, and hopefully stay tuned for Jake's great content. Thank you for having me on. Go Leafs, go. Until next time, let's go, baby. Let's close it out. Game 6. Game
Thank
6.
you. Thank you
Do
so
or
much.
die. Do or die.
Thank you, Clarky. And thank you, everyone, for watching tonight's post-game show. It was a fun one, and it was a fun game. As always, I'm Jake Varco.